What's happening, guys? Aruj here, and today we're talking about variations and adaptations. If you think back to last week, I showed you guys this picture right here of all the varieties of dogs that we have and how they came about from the gray wolf. All these dogs have the gray wolf as the common ancestor, and we got these varieties of dogs through people. People were selecting which traits were favorable and which traits should be passed on to the next generation of offspring. What Darwin had noticed is we have all this variety of life not caused from people selecting, but from nature selecting. And what nature selects are traits that help an organism both survive and survive long enough to reproduce. Okay? Now, let's go over variations. A variation or variations are differences in a population. Variations are heritable. That means they're passed on to offspring. There's two causes for variations. The first one is random mutations, and we get those through spontaneous changes in DNA. So all the new characteristics in a population that come about, they arise through random mutations. And the next we have sexual reproduction. So if you think back to meiosis and the formation of gametes, you have the chromosomes from your mom and the chromosomes from your dad. They exchange segments of DNA, and that increases variation. So it's this sorting and recombining of genes in sexual reproduction that increases variation. Now, the more variation that we have in a species, the better they're able to survive a changing environment. So let me go back to this example. I showed you guys this when we went over meiosis. I said this is a picture of me and two of my siblings, and this is not a picture of my siblings and I. So why is this picture right here, why is that beneficial and this one not beneficial? Well, if we all have the same characteristics, same traits, same strengths, same weaknesses, then if we're exposed to that common weakness, our species is wiped out. Okay? However, if we have a variety of traits and a variety of characteristics within our species, then our species is more stable. There's a higher likelihood that at least some of us will survive and reproduce. Okay? So variation is a good thing. So adaptations. Adaptations are favorable and beneficial traits that help an organism survive to reproduce. Those are adaptations. Anything that helps the organism. Traits that are beneficial to an organism help it to survive and reproduce and pass those to its offspring. Okay? So, over time what we get a higher frequency of beneficial traits. Over time, we get a lower frequency of unfavorable traits. Okay? So, and traits that completely die out, that means they have become extinct. That species has gone extinct if they don't have enough traits to help them survive and reproduce. So let me show you guys this little example real quick. So keep in mind that natural selection creates variation over generations and generations and generations. And it looks like this. So let's say we have a tortoise, and the tortoise lays some eggs and has some offspring. Within that offspring, we have variation, and nature is going to select which variation is beneficial. In this case, we have a tortoise with a slightly longer neck than the rest of them. And keep in mind, this may be the island where vegetation is elevated. Okay? But now, the tortoise with the slightly longer neck is going to reproduce more. It's going to survive better, reproduce more, and have a higher frequency of tortoises with longer necks. So these traits are not selected for. However, the longer neck is. When this tortoise has more offspring, there's going to be more variation. And if there's a tortoise with an even longer neck, then this trait will be more beneficial than the other trait. Okay? And over time, let's say this is the longest that the tortoise needs, then we'll start to see that as the common variation. But keep in mind, I only showed you guys 3 generations. To have evolution by natural selection occur this way, it takes several and several and several generations for this to occur. So it would be tortoises with a slightly longer neck, and then the next generation, slightly longer neck again. That's it for today, folks, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.